Alright, today we're going to go over dimensioning multi-view sketches. We already know how to multi-view sketch objects. You can read this and know that this object is a rectangular prism. However, what you don't know is the exact size of it. So engineers need to be able to communicate what the object looks like, but also the size of the object, the size of all of its features, such as holes or steps, things like that. And they do that using dimensions. You can think of dimensions as measurements. But I'm going to refer to these as dimensions because that's what they're called. Now, dimensioning can be tricky, but there's three main rules I want you to follow. If you can remember and follow those three rules, you should be alright. Now I'm going to be basing my dimensions or my measurements for this sketch off of this set of cubes. It's a 3 wide by 2 tall by 1 block thick rectangle. So when you see me drawing dimensions up there, this is what I'm referring to. So let's jump into dimensioning this guy. We need to know three things. We need to know its length, its height, and its thickness. What's its length? It's 3 blocks long. So let's write a 3 right here. Not bad. What is its height? That's 2 blocks high. So let's write a 2 right there. Lastly, what is its thickness? Well, it's 1 block thick. We can't actually see its thickness on the front view. Right? We can only see this direction, this direction. But on our top view and our right view, we can't actually see its thickness. It has a thickness of 1, so let's write a 1 up here. Good, right? We did it! I love dimensioning. This is easy. Wrong. This is terrible. And here's why. Me and you know that this 3 stands for the length and the 2 stands for the height. We know this is a 1 and it stands for the thickness. But if you passed this multi-view sketch off to anyone in like a machine shop, or a wood shop, and you want it made out of wood, they'll go, what? What is this 23? And why is there this line? I don't know what you want here. So there are a lot of things wrong with this. In the end, it doesn't clearly communicate our idea, so it will not work. But let's talk about what's wrong based off of our rules. Rule number 1 says that your dimensions should be clear and readable. This looks like a 23 to an outsider. So is this clear that this 2 goes here, 3 goes here? No, it's not. We're breaking rule number 1. What about rule number 2? Are the dimensions on the outside of the sketch? No, we drew them right on our object. You don't do that in dimensioning. Always keep your dimensions on the outside of the views. Don't put them on the object. Don't put them in between views. Every once in a while there's an exception where you might need to do that. But in general, keep your dimensions outside of your sketch. Last rule. Did we use the least amount of dimensions possible? We did actually follow that, right? We have 3 measurements, 3 by 2 by 1. We wrote 3 dimensions, so we did actually follow rule number 3. But let's go over how to do this correctly so that we're following all these rules and we can clearly communicate what we want in our object based off our sketch. Okay, we got rid of those dimensions. Let's jump right in. We're starting with width, right? How wide is this guy? We know it's 3. Dimensions have to be on the outside of the object. Let's write a 3 right there. But how do we show that that 3 stands for the distance between here and here? Well, we use what's called an extension line. Extension line comes off the object. It's not touching the object. If it's touching it, it's wrong. It's just slightly hanging off the edge of the object. Now we have these 2 lines here. How do we show that this 3 goes to those 2 extension lines? We use what's called dimension lines. They're little arrows. Beautiful. So anyone's going to look at that and say, okay, the distance between here and here, the length of this guy is 3. That's clear and readable. It's on the outside of our sketch. We're not done dimensioning, so we'll worry about We'll worry about rule 3 later. Now, let's talk about the height of this guy. We know the height is 2, so we're going to go 2 right here. Extension line. Extension line, again, we're not touching the object with those extension lines. And throw some arrows up here. Again, those arrows are called dimension lines. So we know the length, we know the width, the height in this case. We need to now know the thickness. Thickness needs to be on one of these views, this guy or this guy. It doesn't matter, just pick one. I'm going to use this view right here. I'm showing that the distance between here and here is 1. Beautiful. Again, we had 3 measurements, we have 3 dimensions, no more, no less. This is a perfectly dimensioned object. Good. Hey, this isn't too bad, right? Now we're dealing with the same object, we just stuck a hole in it. So it's still going to be 3 by 2 by 1, but I'm going to tell you the hole is 1 block in diameter, and it is also 1 block, the center of it is 1 block from the, in this case, the top of the object, and the center of it is 1 block from either edge. So this guy is centered. All right, let's get to dimensioning this guy. This is why it's always important to draw those center lines, because we're going to refer to or use those center lines while dimensioning. Let's start out with the length and the height, or the width. Doesn't really matter. Length is 3. Now I'm going to draw my extension lines. Pretty long. I'm going to do that so I can fit more dimensions inside of here if I need to. So I'm going to go extension, extension, dimension, dimension line, call it good. My height is 2. I'm going to make this guy pretty long as well. And what is my thickness? My thickness is 1. Okay, so those are the same dimensions we used for the last object, but now we not only need to show how large is this hole, but where exactly is the center of the hole located. We're going to start with the diameter of the hole. That's actually pretty easy. You can do a few things. I'm going to show you the right way first. We'll go the right way. Right way to show the diameter of a hole is to use what's called a leader. It's basically half of a dimension line. And then the diameter we said is 1. The symbol for diameter is circle with a line through it. And the diameter is 1. So that tells me the diameter of this guy is 1. Pretty easy, right? You could also put dimension lines right here and say the distance between this hidden line is 1. It tells you the same thing. I feel like the most correct way is to use a leader. Now we need to get to where exactly is the center of the hole placed. Well, we said the center of the hole is 1 block off of this edge. So we can show that with a dimension. We go dimension line. Here's why I pulled the length and the height way out with my extension lines. Now I can actually fit another dimension inside here. I'm going to choose the bottom, doesn't really matter whether you choose this guy or this guy. But I'm going to show the distance between here and here is 1. Now, do I also need to show that the distance between here and here? Do I need to show that? Well, the answer is no. Here's why. The distance between here and here is 2, and here is 1. So the only other option, only other number that the distance between here and here could be is 1, right? 2 minus 1 is 1. It will never be anything but 1. So we don't actually need to show that. If we did draw that dimension, it would not follow rule number 3, right? We're not using the least possible dimensions as necessary. So we're just going to get rid of that. It's not necessary. Alright, we're done, right? Wrong. We know where, let's call this the y-axis. We know where the hole is located on the y-axis. We don't know where it's located on the x-axis. Well, what did I say it was? I said the distance between the top of the object, or this part right here in the center, was 1 block. So I'm going to go extension line 1. Now, am I fully dimensioned? Let's think. What is the distance between here and here? Can I figure that out? From here to here's 3, and here to here's 1. 3 minus 1 gives me 2. 3 minus 1 is 2. It always will be 2. It'll be nothing but 2. So I don't have to show that, right? Everyone knows how to do that now. Do I know what the thickness of this guy is? Well, the thickness of the object is shown in both the right and the top view. I have it covered on the top view, so we're all good. This is 100% correct. Yep. Call it good. Next up, we're dimensioning this guy. This is just a 3-block tall tower with 2 blocks coming out of the right and left side. The front view is right here. Right view is like that. Top view is like that. Let's get started. Okay, again, front view should show you the most amount of information, so you should probably have the most amount of dimensions on that guy. Let's start with the height of this guy and then the length. Height is, we said it was 3 blocks tall again, fitting a lot of dimensions in here. Pull those extension lines pretty far out, reasonably far out. 3. Distance between here and here, we said it's 2. Let's start out with the distance between here and here. We know this little leg right here, let's call it, is 1 block wide. So let's pull out an extension line. So that is 1 block. Now, what is the distance between here and here? You know it's 1 block. Do we have to write that? Well, from here to here is 2. From here to here is 1. 2 minus 1 gives me 1. Can't be anything else, so I do not need to write that dimension in there. You can figure it out with basic math, so we don't need to write it in there. All right, let's talk about the distance between this guy from here and here. Right? How tall is that leg? Well, it's 1 block tall, so let's show that. Okay, you know, this guy is 1 block tall all the way across. This is why it's important that your views line up, because they line up. I know that even in my right view, this guy is still 1 block tall because this line is completely level, or just about level when it comes to hand-drawn multi-view sketches. So I have that covered. What is the distance between here and here? Well, I can figure that out using the dimensions I already have, right? 3 minus 1 gives me 2. I don't need to show that the distance between here and here is 2. It's already there. So currently, we have dimensioned this guy right here, this guy right here, this guy right here. What else? We know what the distance between here and here is. We can derive that. Here's what we don't know. We don't know a lot of information about the right side. Now, because this is symmetric, or symmetric-ish, some of it we think is common sense, we still need to show it. We cannot tell from the front view or the top view. We could from the top view. We can't tell what the distance between here and here is, right? We can't physically see that face from the front view. So we need to show what that distance is on the right view. That's where it's now visible. So let's do that. So distance between here and here is 1. We're not going to draw that dimension up here because that is now in between views. It's in between my isometric and my right view. So let's put it down here. Keep it on the outside. Extension line, dimension line, dimension line. Okay. What else are we missing? So this is our front view. We've covered all this. We just dimensioned this guy, but we still do not know the distance between here and here, and that was not visible from the front view. It could be visible from the top view, right, as the distance between here and here. Let's show what it is on the right view. We could do that 2 ways. There's really not a wrong way to do this. We could show that the distance between here and here is 1, or we could say, we could pull this guy out and say, also, the distance between here and here is 2. Right? 2 minus 1 gives me 1. This has to be 1. So we can leave it at that. Alright, are we missing anything else? Yep, I'm pretty sure that's everything. Are our dimensions clear and readable? Yeah, 100%. Are they on the outside of the sketches? Yes. Did we use the least amount of dimensions possible? We have no repeating dimensions, so we are good. This is what we want. Alright, I want to do one more example where we are dealing with circular objects, dealing with center lines. I don't have this object, so we're just going to make up dimensions. The important thing is you know where dimensions need to be for this guy to be fully dimensioned. So let's start with the front view, or in this case, yeah, front view. We don't really need a right view. because the right view would show the same information as the top view. We can get away with just two views here. So let's show the diameter of these circles. Start with the inner circle. We go leader. Let's call that 5. We're going to call it 5. So we're going to go diameter symbol, circle the line through at 5. You know what this guy is. Let's go leader. Diameter symbol, let's go 15. We also need to show what the diameter of these little holes are. We can call the diameter of those 1. I think that's reasonable. So we'll go leader, diameter 1. We're going to write a little note that says for 2 holes. We'll keep it simple. So diameter is 1 for both tiny holes. Anyone who reads that is going to know that this stands for that hole as well. There's no other tiny holes in there, so this is reasonable. Next, let's look at this top view. We need to know what is the thickness of this guy and what is the length of the peg sticking out of it. Let's go. This is between here and here. Call it 5. We also need to know the distance between here and here. We could just do that dimension, or we could also state the overall length of the part. I'm going to do that. I like that just because, I don't know, it looks nice. It's called the overall length of the part, 20. And we can determine that the distance between here and here must be 15 because 20 minus 5 gives you 15. Alright, now, I can assume that this center peg is in the middle of the main cylinder because they share the same center point. So I don't really need to dimension those centers because I know that they're dead center on top of each other. However, it's not the same case with these 2 holes. I guess we could assume because these guys share the same horizontal center line that you know that they're in the middle. You can get away with that. I'm just going to be safe and show that they are in fact aligned with the center. To dimension this properly, I know the diameter of this guy is 15. Half of that is 7.5, so I'm going to say this is between here and here. 7.5. Is that over dimensioning? And possibly. I don't think it's going to hurt this view. I certainly wouldn't yell at you if you did that. Now where we really need to dimension is where are these guys placed? Right? This is between here and here and here and here. Well, there's not a great spot to do that on the front view, but the top view, now that's kind of nice because I have the center line, which corresponds to the center of my hole. I can go dimension. When you have really tight extension lines, you can just draw the dimension off to the side. Let's say just distance between there and there, let's call it 2. Same over here. So I know from the outer edge to right here is 2, from the outer edge to here is 2. I know they are centered with this center line. Are we missing anything else? No, we're not. This is done. Congratulations, you made it.